one of my favorite annual opportunities of the last several years in trucking, the annual conference of the National Association of Small Trucking Companies. For 4 years now, the sponsor of our annual Small Fleet Championship, recognizing and sharing the stories of business excellence for owner-operators who hit and or cross that 3-truck threshold. On November 7th this year, I announced winners in 2 categories, recognizing 4 total finalists during NASTC's Thursday night conference opening Transportation Trust Forum. You've likely seen the news. Paul Rissler Transportation and CW Xpress took home the Small Fleet Champ title belts this year in their respective categories, yet that's not the true highlight of the program for me. I'm Todd Dills, your host for this November 18th, 2024 edition of Overdrive Radio, where you'll get the opportunity to sit in on our roundtable sit-down with all 4 of our Small Fleet Champ finalists. That, let it be known, is the thing I most look forward to at NASTC. The talk that follows hinges on a couple of general questions I pose to everyone. Number 1, what's been the biggest year 2024 challenges they've seen in their businesses? Answers run the gamut there and offer lessons for other truck owners similarly wrestling with business difficulty of various stripes. Number 2, what's next for the future of each business? Here, there's a strong current that's a bit different from past Small Fleet Champ roundtables I've conducted. How to pay trucking knowledge forward to leave behind hard-earned capability when the end of the line comes squarely into view. For some, those efforts were front and center. Automotive and general dry van carrier CW Xpress owner Steve Wilson was joined in the talk by his son, Stephen II, in his early 20s and newly involved in the business.
Purchased 3 2020 Kenworths, automatics. Not really liking automatics, but my guys are starting to love them, and everybody wants them now, and we've been pretty lucky as far as freight and everything else, and we're supposed to give another company a quote on, I don't know how many rounds they had.
20 routes, about
20 routes.
I'd say about 150 lanes in total.
We'll also hear CW Xpress's fellow finalist in the 11 to 30 truck division of the Small Fleet Championship, Brian Brewer and Jennifer Leasure of mostly local scrap and dump hauler Brian Brewer Trucking.
I get it. We all have families and we have lives out of here, but sometimes, I don't ask for a lot, but when I do, it's what needs to be done for the business itself.
Likewise, competing in the 3 to 10 truck division, Jamie Hagen of mostly dry van carrier Hellbent Xpress and Paul and Michelle Rissler of Paul Rissler Transportation running reefer.
So that's my thing is, like you guys are talking about, what do you do when it comes time to, you want to retire? What do you do with this now? Like, that's, to me, it's in my mind, it's going to be out there digitally. You know what I mean? Like,
with all of us here, we take it for granted what we know and do. You know how to work on trucks, I do too. People come in there and say, I have a truck cut in half, I'm stretching, and they say, where do you go from here? They walk in there, their mind's boggled. Yeah. And we just take it for granted.
On the other side of a break, we'll dive into the talk conducted just a couple days after the presidential election. There's at least one political joke made in references to the election otherwise, FYI. Yet, where it's all headed is perhaps best previewed with the notion of legacy. Here's CW Xpress's Steve Wilson again, summing up one of his own biggest goals for these next years.
After all that happened to me, and I kept everything to myself and done everything, I got grandbabies now. You know what? I want to build a legacy for them kids, and hey, my grandpa built that. That's what I'm here for.
Keep tuned.
When winter hits hard and the thermometer plunges, your diesel engine needs serious protection. Howe's Diesel Treat is your go-to for preventing fuel gelling and keeping water and deposits out, all while lubricating your fuel system. But if your fuel gels because you forgot to treat or temps drop way below freezing, Howe's Diesel Lifeline is ready to save the day. No need for mixing or filter changes. Both products are guaranteed and warranty safe. Trust Howe's Diesel Treat and Howe's Diesel Lifeline to keep your diesel running strong.
You can find more information about both Howe's Diesel Treat and Diesel Lifeline via HOWES, HowesProducts.com.
I'm Jamie Hagen of Hellbent Xpress. What has changed? Donald Trump has become president. Yeah. This is like a time capsule, right? No.
He's not president-elect.
President-elect, yeah. He hasn't taken office yet, so nothing's changed, really. We sold a few trucks.
Okay.
Poor decision. Had a customer reach out to us and wanted us to double our amount of work. So poor decision to sell. Probably should have kept those, but you know what? They sell trucks, so we'll buy more.
Yeah, wow.
So-
So you made decisions to sell, and then all of a sudden you got...
There wasn't any work, so it was really, I'm like, started to panic. I'm like, well, these trucks are open. Instead of hiring, let's just sell.
Okay.
So we sold, and then now the guy comes to us and says, you guys are doing a bang-up job. Let's add. And I'm like, oh, where were you 2 weeks ago?
Okay.
So, yeah, that's kind of what's been happening.
Sort of in a holding pattern on getting more trucks to do more work.
Well, this is a recent, this
Yeah.
week kind of thing, so
Okay.
I don't know how much weight you put into that.
Right.
But now with this, who knows what tomorrow brings with the
Sure.
President-elect Trump. Like, hopefully maybe the economy turns around.
Right.
I think we're all just sitting here waiting on our hands, aren't we? I mean, just kind of like, what do we do? What do we do?
Yeah.
I'm Steve Wilson. This is my son, Steve Wilson II. We went through all kinds of stuff in 22 with my health and everything. Just all of a sudden, the broker person and my wife stepped up. One thing comes to mind for me was I was trying to figure out fuel tax because I'd done everything myself, and I was laying in a hospital bed and couldn't figure it out. And I told my wife, just sell everything, get out of it. And wasn't 10 minutes later, it came to me. Fuel tax program come up. I was able to file on time. We've been pretty lucky. We bought several trucks. We lost one in a fire, electrical, whatever. And then my son here said get 5 trucks. And I said, let's wait. So we did purchase 3 2020 Kenworths automatics. Not really liking automatics, but my guys are starting to love them. And everybody wants them now. And we've been pretty lucky as far as freight and everything else. And we're supposed to give another company a quote on, I don't know how many rounds they had.
20 routes, about
20 routes.
I'd say about 150 lanes in total.
That was Steve Wilson II, CW Xpress owner Wilson's son.
All round trips,
Full trips.
all automotive stuff.
Right.
We've got that other customer in Louisville, BJK, and we always try to take care of her, but knock on wood, we're here for a reason. We ain't going nowhere as far as I'm concerned. And hopefully, young man here was at the bank, and I was doing everything myself, and I'm like, yeah, they got rid of his position. And I told him, I said, well, you know what? We just bought this building and stuff. We got offices. I said, you step on up, and he's doing an amazing job. So,
Cool.
and he's a big boy, and drivers don't pay, don't make Steven mad. The old man's okay, but watch Steven. But again, I think we're blessed, man. Even after all this has happened to me,
Do you have drivers for those trucks?
I do.
Yeah, that just
And we've got 2.
We got 2 open ones.
Well, we got.
So if anyone's looking for a new job,
We've got another guy that keeps walking in, and Steven's like, I don't know about him, Dad. Let's wait.
The other corner, competing for the 11 to 30 small fleet champ title belt, and hailing from north up I-65 in Stillersburg, Indiana, the 17 truck CW Xpress and owner Steve Wilson. Come on up to the stage, Steve. He's joined by his son and Steve Wilson II. CW Xpress has shown recent history growth too, on the strength of, in part, of a dedicated partnership with Avenger Logistics, the automotive supply chain, their major customer. Wilson's success as a small fleet owner is a product of both hard-won expertise and service over the fleet's history. Steve got his start listening to his uncle diagnose truck repair issues, talking to drivers on the phone over the road in the 1980s. And he aspired to be that go-to resource, to know a truck inside and out such that he could make an effective, accurate diagnosis over the phone. Let's just say he is that guy now, without doubt. As noted, his principal partner at Avenger, as they said, at times he's had a breakdown, he makes his own recoveries, even helping other carriers in their network of diagnosis to build value with them. He doesn't need to be on site to tell you what's wrong with the truck, as another customer put it up Wilson. And though he takes close care of every aspect of the business, it's clear he's also adept at team building. With support in place to step up when it was do or die. Back in 2022, he spent much of the year in the hospital, losing part of his right leg after complications from COVID left him close to the ends. Since then, though, growth has continued, with CW now in a new office just off I-65 there in Indiana. Steve Wilson II, CW Xpress.
I'm Paul, Ms. Michelle.
Last name?
Rissler, Paul. Paul Rissler Transportation, LLC. We just changed our name to LLC this year. Got that?
Okay.
I'm Michelle Rissler, married to Paul, and married him for 31 years. And we are, I help in the office.
Anything changed a bit for you guys this year?
Yeah. Well, we have all dedicated rounds too, and we lost our one account for a little bit. They found somebody cheaper, and they gave it to somebody else. And then
I was going to say that's
eggs, hauling eggs. If a guy comes in with a nickel cheaper, it don't matter if you were doing it for 2 years, loyalty and everything doesn't matter to them. They'll let that other person do it just like that. And anyway, that happened to us this year since we talked and since we got in. But that's not the main thing that happened. The worst thing that happened is one of our best drivers came down with cancer real bad, stage 4, and he had to get off the road. And so he's doing good right now, but I had a truck sit for a little bit.
Sure.
I was going to leave it sit there till he gets back in it again, but you just can't leave a whole rig sit, So I advertised it on Facebook just to my friends, and it didn't take 2 weeks. I had a new driver in it, and he seems like he's going to run for a long time for us.
Okay.
And then I told Ryan, his name's Ryan Rissler, my cousin. And I said, when he gets better, we'll just buy him another whole rig, and he'll be back in the road again. He just can't wait.
Sure. Well, he was with us for 15 years. Right. So that was hard on us because we never experienced death or that sickness, and he had to quit now. Right. He was bad. He didn't know it, though.
He's doing chemo treatments in Hershey Medical and PA, so everybody can keep him in our thoughts and prayers.
Totally. How old is Ryan?
47.
He's 47. Wow.
Too young, for this. When you got a dedicated run, you got to keep the guys.
Right.
Or you got to have somebody there to run that run. And it just made me work harder for a little bit, because I take care of all the guys. They all run 3 weeks on and 1 week off.
Sure.
So I always take their place when they're off.
Contenders in the 11 to 30 truck division for Overdrive's Small Fleet Championship. A big round of applause for, here in Nashville, all the way from headquarters in DeGraff, Ohio, Small Fleet owner Brian Brewer Trucking. Join now a 15-truck fleet of tractors. Actually, it's added a couple more, so I think it's going to be up to 17 here very shortly. And some straight dumps serving a diverse set of customers between Dayton and Columbus metro areas. Brewer got his start trucking as an owner in 2000 with a friend he knew from the local regional auto racing circuits. Still a little more than a pastime for him, actually, with a custom fab shop for race cars attached to his 10,000 square foot BBT trucking headquarters. His willingness and ability to act capacity in direct response to customer needs paid off as other companies have struggled. Believe it or not, even at a time like this, since the beginning of 2023, the company's more than doubled in size to 15 trucks. We spoke to a BBT customer, supplier of erosion control products and aggregates, who sees a shrewd operator in Brewer when it comes to balancing needs of the business with those of his employees and the customer. He's very cognizant of the rate and what he needs to manage business imperatives, the customer said. Too many people will do any job regardless of what the pay is. Brewer is not one. He added, however, that when you call him, he never hesitates to try to help. Brian is like a go-to guy when you need something, always with a positive attitude. Success has been such that Brewer's been canvassing his area for a bigger facility to continue to grow the business. Brian Brewer Trucking, everybody.
I'm Brian Brewer from Brian Brewer Trucking, LLC. As we've grown, is the growth pains that, I'm sure we've all had so far, is implementing things that we hadn't implemented before that we needed to put in place to make for sure we stay in compliance. And then driver retention, I'm sure that all of us have felt that this year. Guys thinking that they need to go somewhere else, that they're worth more. And, we had that happen. We lost a couple of guys. I had guys that we hired and then they didn't show up, and, they get to come in for their 90 days and show up for 7 days of their first 30 days. So, it's just the driver retention and trying to keep guys in the trucks and treat them fair and treat them like they're part of the family. I'm sure we've all had people that's been with us for a while that's helped us grow and be who we are now. And we wouldn't be here with a lot of those guys. And, the same way, I feel like that we've been blessed to be able to have a company to be able to do what we're doing right now. Father-son duel that I have, the son's been a friend of my son all of his life, and he thought he was worth a little bit more money, and he left and went to a construction job, and now the last week or so he's been knocking on my door saying, I want to come back. He said, I just needed a little time away to figure it out, and still young, so sometimes that's going to happen. And then when they do go somewhere else and figure out the grass isn't greener than what they thought it was, and I say I try to treat everybody like their family, so he thought he was out of the family.
That puts a couple of your trucks idle for now.
Right.
That's happened pretty recently, though.
Since you announced the last 4 finalists that happened, so I have had a lot of people knocking on the door now wanting jobs. So we just hired 3 people, and I got back in the truck myself instead of doing the office, and Jennifer took over the office duties, trying to help me out to relieve my stress for what we've got going on in there. So but I've had 3 people come in, and we've hired all of them. They start Monday. I hired my first lady that we in our organization, so I'm kind of thrilled to see how that actually goes for us.
Behind the wheel?
Behind the wheel, yeah, exactly.
Brian Brewer there made reference to Jennifer Leasure, life and business partner, who joined us for the talk but generally was microphone shy, as it were. She plays a valuable part in the business, though, of course, as Brewer noted. I then pitched the wearing of all hats aspect of small business that Brewer evoked there back to the others assembled. With growth, delegating becomes a necessity, of course. Who helps manage that necessity, I wondered. Jamie Hagen then evoked his wife, Hillary.
She's not here right now. She's upstairs getting dusted up. Right. No, if it wasn't for her, none of this would even be possible. Going from 4 trucks to 12 at one point, and then back down to 9 now. Like, it was just, there's no way. Like, without her.
A very short time period too, right?
Yeah. In the last 3 years. Yeah.
Years.
Oh yeah, well, I had my CDL forever, and I found myself out on the truck picking up loads for the drivers, this, that, and the other, and we started getting bigger, and I'm like, you know what? Everybody, you do it for one, you got to do it for the rest of them. And I had to go see my sick mom. She had cancer in Cleveland, and my license were up for renewal, and I didn't have my physical, and I said, you know what? Get rid of them. I hate it now because I can't drive these big trucks. They're pretty, but I said, get rid of them. That way these guys have to do their own work. If it takes 10 minutes to go get this load, they'll have to go get it. So, yeah. And I was doing everything with cell phone and pagers. And
when did that happen?
Oh,
how long is that?
2010, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just because I had to go up there, sign papers, and she just had a few days. I'm like, I don't need that CDL. We had 10 trucks, 7 trucks, something like that. But no, let them do it. Now I can just boss them around now. And now, like I said, we had last time we talked, we had 17 trucks, and we're up to 21 now. And how many trailers?
35.
35. And we were in a little spot we were renting. I was thinking the other day, I'm like, can you imagine if we were still in that little bitty spot compared to where we got 5.5 acres now? And I'm like, we're stretching it out now. So, huh?
We had about an acre.
We had that about an acre before.
Yeah, it was just.
And I bought my property. After all this, I went back for a gallbladder issue. And a guy, I bought a piece of property, was going to put a building up. And the guy wanted to buy it. I said, no. And he said, well, this other guy's got this truck driving school for sale. It might interest you. He's already got a building up. And I'm sitting there on the phone, IV'd up. And I ended up selling my piece of property and buying another piece of property. My IV was going off, and Mr. Gas like, Steve, what is that? I said, it's my IV, sir. He said, you okay? I said, I'm only here for a couple of days to go, but I'll be fine, trust me. He said, well, I like talking to you, and you got to give me some money down, and I'll give you 45 days. And I called my bank lady, and it was great. And we're right off the interstate, right there near Louisville. It's just amazing. We're lucky. We're
Steve, the second, how long have you been helping out in the business now?
Officially?
He used to be my tire guy on Saturdays.
Ever since I was 12, I've been doing tires, always tires, mount, dismount, everything. And then after I worked at the bank for about 9 months, I moved over to the office, and he's getting old.
I couldn't do it without him now because we got so many routes and drivers and stuff, and everybody wants try to equal everybody out so everybody gets paid.
I feel like you have like dementia sometimes. I'm constantly asking me about one specific route every single day.
I can't ever remember the 138 in Michigan.
Don't worry, we got it.
So I'm glad he's there. Yeah. Instead of me doing everything, I can ask his opinion, and it helps.
And you're too nice. I had to be the backup all the time, especially when it comes to drivers. It's not the 80s or 90s anymore, old man.
See what they're
Clearly a little tough love amongst the Wilsons at CW Express, from 23-year-old son to father in this case. The Risslers have involved family closely too, managing their affiliate shop and all truck maintenance in addition to work for outside customers.
Our youngest is 22 or 21, I guess. I don't know. He thinks he knows it all. You know, he's going to tell the drivers how to do it. I said, look. He said, Dad, one time he goes, Dad, you're a two-faced. You're mad at this guy, and then this guy comes in and you're like, hey, how's it going? I said, no, that's not two-faced. You got to know your personalities and everybody. Yeah. And you can't take your personality or your character, your anger out on this driver that just walked in, doesn't know you're angry, you know? Yeah. You got to change and be nice to this guy. That's how it is.
I learned that from the bank real fast. Yeah.
Well, when we made the deal on them 3 trucks, they were in Kansas City, and I was going to fly 3 drivers out there. And I said, Steven, you're going too. I mean, you go to represent, and he had to ride back with one of them. Of course, that was the city man he rode back with. He's like, I should have rode back with Ken, the road guy.
But not Ken. Ken would be there in like 4 hours.
Some of them have been with me for 20 years. And I know their character.
Sure.
And I know when they're ready to blow up. You know when you got to stop talking to them or being, just. Right. So then my kid comes along, he thinks he can just do the same thing. And it's like, no, stop. Oh, yeah. He's going to leave. He'll be so mad at you. He'll quit for us,
Right.
Don't make him mad.
Right. I had one get mad at me a minute ago because he does Toledo, Ohio every day. And I say, hey, your load ain't going Friday and Saturday. He said, well, Bob said it's going. I said, yeah, but another guy ain't worked any. So you go home, have your weekend, let this other guy have a paycheck too. So he said,
that's okay. The biggest challenge is when you're going about that is getting the guys to go and do extras whenever it needs to be done. A lot of them, with my guys come in at 5, they leave by 5, We got banker's hours, it seems like, and that's what they get used to that. And then when something comes up on a Saturday that we've got to do, or in the evening, it's like, I need you to go do this. It's like, well, I got my kids and I got this and I got that. And it's like, I get it. We all have families and we have lives out of here. But sometimes, I don't ask for a lot. But when I do, it's what needs to be done for the business itself. And a lot of guys just don't understand that because they're not in our roles that, it's what sustains your business, what you keep doing. And, taking care of those customers are what keeps you going and paying your bills. But they don't realize it pays their bills too.
My dad would never line a load up until it was empty back in the 80s and 90s. Right. Because you didn't know, what if you broke down? What if you didn't make it? What if you didn't do this? What if you don't? Nothing holds out. We have our loads lined up a week in advance. All my guys are running all the time. They're never dead heading. Back and forth.
Title tilt. Schedule 1 round for all the marbles in the 3 to 10 truck division of Overdrive Small Fleet Championship. Hailing all the way from California town, that is, Missouri. Please welcome to the stage Paul Rissler Transportation owners Paul and Michelle Rissler. Oh man. The Risslers have managed a fleet of 6 trucks, give or take, now for more than a quarter century in business, running refrigerated freight in the independent carrier network production refrigerated out of Pennsylvania, among other customers. A customer logged service from the Risslers with a relationship that stretches over close to 30 years. That speaks highly of the caliber of drivers and equipment they provide, allowing the drivers to perform their job without issues from production instead. Delivering LTL freight takes a driver that wants to come to work every day and get the job done, and that is exactly what they do. The Risslers maintain their trucks largely themselves, in-house, through the Rissler LLC shop business they run with their sons, keeping it in the family and also performing custom work for clients there. Better yet, several years ago, significantly, they set out on a path to become a debt-free business, achieving the goal 3 years ago now. Profits have benefited, of course, and managing cash reserves effectively has allowed them to keep reefer trailer pool in pristine condition, among other things, to serve the sustenance supply chain. As Paul said about that, if you always haul food, you should never go broke. Everybody's got to eat. He stayed that course, resisting temptation several times to swap to other types of freight when market dynamics presented a carry. There's longevity value to the Risslers, though, in those known knowns. If you're good at one thing, stick with it, he said. Perfect it. It's like playing basketball, baseball, football. You never get good at all three. Paul Michelle Rissler Transportation.
But I did not tell you this, and we lost that load of eggs. They're around.
Right.
We did get them back.
Right, okay.
We hooked up with somebody else and started hauling them, their stuff, Beyond Meats, to Pennsylvania, and they gave us like 5-6 loads a week, and we only can handle 3 to PA. And but they give us all we want. And then 3 weeks later, the egg guys are calling us up and say, "Hey, can you run for us again?" Well, now they're offering us 2 loads a week, actually 4 loads a week of eggs, and we only take 2 because we got hooked up with this other company now, and they kind of lost out.
What happened? Did they tell you what happened with?
Yeah, another broker came in there and cut the rate so bad. I called that broker up, and I asked him how much they pay to go back. He said they dropped it $1,000. I said, "I'm not touching your load. I will not haul it. I'm not taking it."
Nobody else.
Yeah, it's tough to take.
3 weeks later, they're giving it back to this broker that we haul for all the time direct. They gave us back, and they're
My business is a lot different than what your guys' business is.
Been a bit since we heard from him, but that's the voice of Brian Brewer again.
You know, with us doing dump trailers and hauling scrap and everything, I mean, my customers own all their trailers. I don't think, but I have one trailer.
So you were the last week or two hauling a bunch of Republicans, eh?
Yeah, I was trying to, yeah. No, I'm hauling the geese and the cats, as they were saying in my area.
The geese and the cats.
A lot of my growth has come, like we've talked before, within my customer base.
Yeah.
You know, and the challenges with them, it's like, you know, when they're calling, it's like, okay, I'll see what I can do, you know, and I'm grateful. I mean,
and sometimes that means like go buy another truck and find another driver.
Exactly. Find more drivers, find another truck. We've got a job that's getting ready to start here. We've been waiting for the city to sign off on it, and we're going to put 3 to 5 more trucks just on that job itself alone. And then a couple others that I'm doing right now to cover everybody. We figure we're going to be, maybe next year I'll be up to 20 trucks if things go right. So hopefully it will.
More tires, more fuel.
More expense. More out of the checkbook.
The other quarter in Nashville from well north of the Risslers in Aberdeen, South Dakota, it's Jamie and Hillary Hagen of Hellbent Xpress. As recently as 2020, Jamie Hagen was just a 1-truck owner-operator. By the end of 2023, the Hagen's business was all up to 8 trucks, mostly pulling dry vans today. And he's continued to add units this year to what is a highly fuel-efficient operation. Hagen's social media followers know well that fuel is a 4-letter word for him. Personally averages 10 miles per gallon and seeks to impart just how he does that with the wider truck in the world and the drivers employed in his all-Mac fleet. Though the challenges of the current rate environment are certainly well known, the Hagens have focused in on the personal nature of customer service, even more critical in a time like the present. An important broker customer of Hellbent Xpress we spoke to lauded Hellbent as being easily in the top 5 carriers in her network of more than 6,500 trucking companies. Hagen cares about the product he hauls, she said. He cares about how he's representing my company as much as he's representing his own. He does everything in a timely manner. If he does not have a truck when I call him a load, he's going to work on getting the truck there. In illustrating service excellence, she noted at the time a load had shifted en route that one of Hagen's drivers called in about. Jamie actually hired the company to fix it. So when he showed up at the receiver, when the driver showed up at the receiver, it was loaded properly. And most carriers, she felt, would just say, "Not my problem. Hold out hope the load didn't get refused." That might well be the very dictionary definition of hell-bent when it comes to customer service, I would say. Jamie and Hillary Hagen, Hellbent Xpress.
I mean, for me, the big challenge going forward is I wouldn't say it was easy to go from one to where I'm at. It definitely was difficult. But it feels like you plateau, like you kind of get to a point where now you have to spend more to get to that next level. Like if I wanted to double now, I need to add more people in the office. Yeah. And then that expense almost has to occur before that happens because then that becomes too much, and then someone has to quit driving. So there's all these logistics that have to happen that I don't, as a driver, I've never encountered before. So it's like, well, you don't know. So that's the hard part is reaching out to guys that have done it and trying to understand how they made that leap.
Sure.
So that way maybe I can learn something instead of learning it the hard way.
Or
making those big mistakes.
Yeah. Or I think we've got an example of finding that out and just staying right where you are.
Staying right where we're at. I like our dedicated runs. I like who we got. Just stick with your 8 trucks or 9 trucks, whatever you got, and be happy. Because I'll tell you right now, the more you make, the more you're going to spend. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You can have 1 truck and we probably make out about the same amount if I drove every day. Just the truck like the driver does every week. We'd probably make the same amount when it all is done. Yeah, with expenses and stuff and tires and oil and everything. Maintenance is the most expensive part of owning a truck.
When you're thinking about the future, what are you worried about in terms of positioning the business for continued success? How are you thinking you'd solve that?
Well, the most thing we probably think about is how we're going to do this when we aren't doing it no more. When are you going to end it? You just don't. We have our sons. We want them to kind of transition over and take over, but they don't want it. They want to work on the trucks. They don't want to drive. They don't want to.
They're in the shop, right?
They're in the shop 100%. One son is in the office helping Michelle now. Finally, she does all the paperwork. If it wasn't for her, you ought to talk to her because she does keep everybody together here.
No,
she runs the show.
Our biggest challenge is I wanted to hand over smoothly to our children because they've always helped us, and our family is mostly family. There's a few outside truckers. I mean, not with the Rissler name, but and we made that goal of getting debt free. And I know that it's not in everybody's world, but we made it, and we fought it for 2 years. I screamed, kicked, and said, "We are doing this," and we did it. So I mean, that's huge because a business is expensive.
When you're debt free,
but
it's so much easier to buy a truck. We just bought a 23 Kenworth W9, and it's just write a check out for it. It's so much easier. But I'm telling you, we were in debt for 27 years. Then I got these 24-year-old drivers. We want to be just like you. We want to own this. We want to own that. It's like, look at them and say, I started out at 21, first new truck. Or not new truck, it's my used truck. Bought from my mom and dad. And
it just takes years.
It took 27 years to get where I'm at. Don't keep looking at us and saying, we want, you're making too much money off of us. That's why you're debt free. I didn't make that much money off him. You only got me for 1 year.
We all heard that right there. You own all them trucks. How much money you got?
It's still the same money. Yeah, it really is. It's the same money in, same money out, but now we're different. Instead of paying interest, now we're putting that money towards our retirement.
You do feel like it sets you up to be able to hand
it over to our children.
To your children without, okay, now you need to learn how to.
I don't want to put them in debt, but yet they have to buy the stuff.
They're still have to.
I bought my dad's stuff when he went out of business in 2002. I started out in 97, and then he had 4 or 5 trucks.
Right.
And I grew up in them all my life. We were trucking family all our life.
Right.
And but we went on our own because my mom and I felt like
we felt like you. No.
They did it wrong.
I'll cut that out. I ran hard, and when it was time for new tires, Dad said, "I ain't got no money for tires. Go run hard," And I'd get irritated. And we said, "We're going to make sure we never run recaps on our trucks ever."
Okay.
And my dad always run recaps, but those are the things we made our mindset, and we were going to.
And it would be fun to watch what our children decide. Sure. How they'll run it. I mean, they're doing great now, but
they think we're crazy. We should have electric trucks now.
What?
Where'd the noise
go?
No,
this is a joke. But anyway,
I do run recaps because of my industry.
Yeah, well, you need them because you're going to tear up your tires. Really bad. We run long distance.
I got a national account with CR England, And so whatever price I pay here, I pay there. So, and it's a discount. And my rep guy said, Steve, I said, man, I got all these casings. I need to get rid of them. I have to pay to get rid of all these. I got like 60 of them. He said, Steve, as long as they're good American virgin casings, cap them one time. Yeah. And knock on wood, I don't think flat tires is our biggest issue. And when the guy comes in and the tires wore out, might have a little chunk, take them both off. Yeah. It's so cheap, put 2 on. Yeah. So
we're in a scrap, so we go in and out of the yards that we go into. Yeah. It makes it, and I always tell all the guys when you pull off the scales wherever you're at, check the tires, and I got a guy last week, he went through 3 tires in 1 week, and it's like, really, dude? I mean, come on, do your job. That's all I ask. Because
running them flat.
It blew out. Yeah, it blew out because it was flat. Because you didn't do your job, and did you pre and post.
And then they tried to say, oh, this, that, and the other, and I'm like, man, I've been doing this too long.
Yeah.
He said, why is it lumpy? I said, I can tell you exactly why. You let it run low in air. Oh, there's no way. I'm like, check it.
Yeah, I go through that a lot. Yeah, it wasn't that way this morning.
Yeah.
Did you really check it though? That's the question.
It didn't come off the rim just a minute ago.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been in a growth phase here quite recently. The last couple of years, you almost doubled the size. I think you're adding more trucks now.
Yeah, we're looking at possibly adding. Like I said, that customer needs 3 to 5 trucks.
Yeah.
So if we go that route, we're at 15 right now. So we'll probably be maybe sometime spring, summer. We'll probably be about 20 trucks. If things go the way we predict it to go, but anything can happen between now and then too. Right. But challenges really that I've faced is growth and the quick growth, because I really didn't get back into owning trucks on my own until 18 again. Yeah. And within the 5 years, I've exceeded the growth that I thought I would actually have. Sure. So I told her, our projections was maybe 5 to 9 trucks by our 5th year, not thinking that we'd be at 15 by now. And the learning curves as far as paperwork, regulations, and the difference in the insurance was costing us to do that. So me wearing many hats and trying to I'm doing old school stuff, and I've had to implement. I mean, I'm still even writing my payroll down in paper to give to the guys, or paper checks out of my own personal account. So I know those are the challenges that I have to make it more business-like. But
it's kind of like what Jamie was talking about in that notion of being like right at the edge of like, okay, what do I do here? Do I go more trucks, or do I keep more people, or do it at the same time? How does it work? It sounds like you've gone a little bit almost beyond that with the trucks.
Yeah, I went beyond the truck expectations for sure, because even our business plan, it was funny. I just came across my business plan in the beginning, and I went back and I looked at it, and I'm like, wow, I never dreamed that we would be where we're at right now. But again, I'm blessed to have it, and I'm trying to put her into a role, Jennifer into the role now of helping out in the office, and take a little bit of stress off of me. And with me being in the truck right now, because we're down a couple of people, she's had to step up and come to the office and help me out and picking parts up, taking parts, and doing everything that I would normally be doing. And I don't know, being back in the truck, it's been all right with me because it puts me back in front of my customers. And when you walk in, they were like, "Oh, we thought you were permanently gone. We didn't know you were still around." Yeah, exactly. So it's good to go back to your customers and see them. And I still try once a week to see a different customer and just meet up with them and see how things are going and see if things change and how my drivers are doing and how they're taking care of them also. So it's been okay to be back in a truck right at this moment.
Steve, you guys have been on, you personally, and everybody at the company have been on a wild ride in the last few years. Yes. But what's next?
Biggest issue, mechanic.
Yeah, well, yeah. See,
he's young. He's just young. That's it.
I used to do everything. Yeah. And my insurance man, he'd come see me. He's like, "Steve," he said, "how do you do it?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, your maintenance record's just spot on when he brings me reports and all that stuff. And I said, "Well, when it comes in, I look at them, I fix them." Of course, I had my issues. And then I had a buddy of mine. I knew I was a better mechanic than him, but he supposedly was a shop foreman for a couple of years at the company. And he said, "Steve, I'll come over there." That lasted. Yeah, he wasn't as good as I.
8 months. 10 months,
and that's fine. If you make better yourself, go on. I'll be fine. He was worried about me. I said, "We've been friends forever." I said, "Just go on. I'll be fine." I left the shop one day and I heard click, click, click in my back tire of my car. So I stopped. I got out looking. I'm like, what is that? It's a new car. What's up? A sheriff pickup truck pulled up next to me. He said, buddy, you okay? And I'm at a dead-end road. I'm like, yeah, just got a clicking noise. This young man popped out, got on the ground. I'm like, buddy, you ain't got to do all that. If something's wrong, it's going to the dealer. We're going to get it fixed. He jumped back in the car, and his dad was a sheriff or whatever, deputy sheriff. And he said, this was like 2 or 3 days after my mechanic left. He said, you're not looking for a diesel mechanic, are you? That's the truth. I'm like, by fact, I am. I said, who? He said, this man right here. So how you feel about changing tires? He said, that's easy. I'm like, I said, I'm the master of changing tires. Let's go. He's 19. And I have to find myself, I have to get in my mental state to where I have to check everything. We put spindles on a W9 the other day, or he did. I'm like, I need to go out there and make sure they're okay because it's a big truck. And he done all right. Just some stuff he doesn't do like I would do.
He's getting there, though.
And we were working on a 379 Pete. He had the front end jacked up, doing something to it. And I was back there working on a leveling valve. And it was my fault. Normally I work by myself. I didn't check anything. Well, the leveling valve wouldn't work. I got it to work. It started airing up. Well, when it aired up, the frame moved. The truck fell on its belly, fell on the frame. And he hollered before it did. He was just on the one side. Nothing busted. Everything was fine. And it took us an hour and a half to get it back up. I said, Clayton, I said, dude, it's half my fault. I said, be patient, because one day you're going to be a good mechanic. You need to go through all this stuff to see. So I think he's going to be okay. And our biggest challenge right now, like you said, I'm doing everything by paper. I got to learn how to do Excel spreadsheets.
I see them in my nightmares.
We need a program. We got somebody in mind, and we miss bills sometimes because we do so many. We might miss one. Well, that's $1,000. Easy. My biggest goal after all that happened to me, and I kept everything to myself and done everything, I got grandbabies now. You know what? I'm going to build a legacy for them kids. And, hey, my grandpa built that. That's what I'm here for.
With all of us here, we take it for granted what we know and do. You know how to work on trucks. I do too. People come in there and say, I have a truck cut in half. I'm stretching. And they say, where do you go from here? They walk in there. Their mind's boggled. Yeah. And we just take it for granted.
Yeah.
We do. We know how to tighten,
We got an engine door apart, injectors and stuff laying on the table. I said, don't move them. They're in order.
Passing it down at the truck stop.
Yeah.
But now nobody does that.
Yeah.
So now it's all digital.
Yeah.
So the only way we could pass it down, my dad passed it down to me because, I was there learning it with him. Yeah. But now I have 5 daughters. So, and none of them are interested in trucking. None of them at all. Not even a bit. So that's my thing is, like you guys are talking about, what do you do when it comes time to, you want to retire? What do you do with this now? Like, that's, to me, it's in my mind, it's going to be out there digitally. You know what I mean? Like passing that on to people who pick up the magazine or read an article or
social media,
read a tweet. Yeah.
Looking to retire soon. How much you want?
Look, watching these numbers, guys.
It's aggressive. Yeah.
And what gets me is I was 10 years old painting old Dayton wheels for my dad years ago. And I'm like, I hate this. And my grandfather, my uncle, my dad bought a truck. My dad drove it. And what I always wonder is, what was their plan? I never got to ask them that. They're all gone, but what was their plan? If they would, if they could see me now, that's the only thing I can say.
If indeed they could see him now, they'd see that their plan for the young Steve Wilson, such as it may have been front of mind or implied or just happened by virtue of circumstance, those men would see that they effectively paid it forward, just as Wilson himself is doing now with Steve II. And as are all 4 of our Small Fleet Champ finalists. A big thanks to all of them. Jamie Hagen of Hellbent Xpress, Brian Brewer and Jennifer Leasure of Brian Brewer Trucking, Paul and Michelle Rissler with Paul Rissler Transportation, Steve and Steve II with CW Xpress. Thank you all for joining us in the Small Fleet Champ effort. Part of our own efforts to tell the stories of exceptional owners and, as Hagen noted, pay trucking knowledge forward digitally of the fashion. You can find each owner's story as well as those of several other semi-finalists via overdriveonline.com/small-fleet-champ. Big congrats to CW and Rissler on the wins, but know that each and every one of these fleet stories offers something to take to the bank when, if, like them, it's your goal to grow and prosper long term. Again, that's overdriveonline.com/small-fleet-champ. I'll post that link wherever you're listening to this Overdrive Radio podcast for November 18th, 2024. Find it in the show notes there. Overdrive Radio is on Spotify and SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, Overdrive's Facebook page, and any listening platform. Really. Leave us a review there if you're enjoying these, and here's a big thanks in advance for that. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with the acoustic guitar and other support of trucker-songwriter long-haul Paul Marhofer. The theme is Legend of the Snake Man by Marhofer, featuring the guitar work of Travis, the Snake Man himself, Whammick. Terry Two Socks Richardson on bass, keys by Tishomingo Jim Whitehead, and on drums, Andrew Marshall. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive's own social media coordinator, Jasmine Campbell, news editor Matt Cole, executive editor Alex Lockie, and video editors Lawson Rudisell and Andrew Glenn. See you next time.